I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Share the live. Share the link. Let me share the live and share the link. Because we are live. Share. Copy. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. Tune in. Paste. Post. All right. Yo, what's on my heart? My hearty. I hope you guys got questions ready. Because I'm about to send the man the invite. We all been waiting for this. Angel Marquez. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, obviously. But I'm excited for this. I'm gonna send him the invite. I just want to post this link. I want to get a few people on here. I want to mentally prepare because this is gonna be exciting. Angel Marquez. All right, perfect. Boom, boom, boom. Let me get the link ready. That link, Yana. Copy. And let me get him on right now, right away, because in case it doesn't work, I'll have to start the live over if there's any difficulties. But let me send him the link. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you hear me. Let me know if you guys hear me good. Let me get my live stream up on my camera right here. Let me know if y'all hear me. Waiting for Angel to join. Let me mute this. Mute. Perfect. All right, just gonna wait for Angel to join, and then we're gonna get this ball rolling. Okay, perfect. Sometimes it freezes on my end when someone joins, so I have to put my camera up over here. I'm just waiting for Angel to join. If we can hear him, we are gonna get this ball rolling. If not, I gotta start the live over, reset my phone, and then I'll get him back on. But let's see. Here we go. Angel,
Hey, what's up?
do you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you very good.
I hear you good too, brother. Thank you so much for joining. I
Nice.
appreciate. Do you like my hat?
Yeah, it's cool. St. Patty's.
St. Patrick's Day just passed. Listen, before we get started, I'm going to take the hat off because obviously you deserve nothing but respect. But we have not started yet. Let me just put my phone on charge. Put my phone on charge so nothing happens. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to put the hat on that my wife just got me. We are good to go. You see me good?
Yeah, I see.
Perfect. So I always like to start off a certain way. Hold on one second. There we go. Excuse me. Please, you don't need an introduction, but introduce yourself.
I always sometimes say this. Usually don't need introductions, but Angel Marquez, the legendary handball player.
Legendary is oh, that is a perfect name for you, brother. And you also go by the Don, right? Hopefully we get the Don sometime in this interview.
Oh,
Um But Angel, listen, I know other people have talked to you before. One of my favorite interviews is the one that you did with Burning Rubber. Um, you are very hypercritical in the sport. And if I'm being honest, I always love your opinion because it's brutally honest. It's what we need to hear most of the time. But before we get into your opinion on the sport, where it came from and where it's at, um, let's talk about how you got into Big Blue.
Well, the money got me into it. That's the only way to describe it. Because I had no intentions. When paintball started dying, or the Spalding game started dying out, Dave Andre, he started trying to run paintball tournaments with a dead Spalding. Actually, had no air, because that's what happened to the Spalding. They were so great, and really you couldn't even squeeze them high bounce. And all of a sudden, for some strange reason, they put no air in the balls at all. Like you would see, you go to the grocery store, the bodegas, and you see a bag of balls, right? Of the racket balls or the blue balls. But they used to be the pink ball, the Spalding. They used to come in a bag, and you would grab them, and you couldn't even squeeze them. Some were big, some were, but they were all super fast. And then all for some strange reason, no air. They were all dead. So Dave tried that, and then that didn't work out very well, because a lot of
Hmm.
guys were getting discouraged because it changed the game. And then all of a sudden, Skybounce got into it. They came out with a tan ball. It was never.
Hmm.
It was a Skybounce tan ball. So then people started playing, and not the pink ball players, just other guys. Started playing with the ball. And then one day, I'm passing through Yankee Stadium. I'm not going nowhere. I'm still not playing with that ball at all. And Flip was a great player at the time. We knew each other from pink ball. So he comes up to me and says, "Angel, you want to play with me? Why not?" And we won the tournament. Then I played in a singles tournament, and I won that tournament. Then I came back with Buddy, and I won that tournament. All of a sudden, I'm making money now. You know. So once my eyes opened up, because I won so many trophies, but I didn't get anything out of it. You know what I mean? I had to make my money hustling. But then I realized that there's money in this game.
Hmm.
Win a trophy, which I really, at the time, being that I just jumped a lot of my trophies. I stopped giving a damn about them, or for personal reasons.
Hmm.
That I realized I could make money from this game. I'm making $100. I'm doing this. People are playing. The game is getting nice. You know what I mean? Good competition, and I'm still at a pretty good level, even though I switched games.
Hmm.
So yeah, so my incentive to playing with that ball, which the majority, I figure, and I'm not even exaggerating, 80% of the Spalding players quit. They didn't want to switch. They just walked away.
Yeah.
Well, guys, the only two great players of the era, me and Buddy, we went into it. We decided we just jumped from that game to that game, and we were already at a high level anyway. So
Yeah.
it was just a matter of adjusting.
Hmm.
Then my like I said, I saw dollar signs.
Yeah.
That was my only incentive. Well, it wasn't that I thought the game was great. I didn't. It was nothing compared to the Spalding, because of the speed. How fast the game was. The pace, the serves, the ridiculous shots that you can do with that ball. It was the money. So I never really liked it in the beginning,
Yeah.
because, like I said, my incentive was to make money. I was making a lot of money playing paintball, hustling, going from park to
But not
park.
in tournaments.
No, we will.
Hmm.
This is the funny thing, right? Before tournaments of West 4th Street, we all be upstairs in McDonald's. Me, Buddy, all of us, because Dave Andre was very strict. He was a no nonsense guy. If you showed up late, you ain't playing.
Hmm.
Sometimes, I remember one time. I'll just change the story for a time. I'm playing in Lafayette Park, right? I already won 2 games. It's 100 degrees. Guy Carlos Lorenzo, who was a top player at the time, he walks in and lets him play. So you see what I mean? Sometimes,
Yeah.
already two,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes, so sometimes he thought about it, but I was racking up a lot of money with the paintball, uh, outside. So we'd be hanging out there, and we will be playing for money before they showed up. And at the end of the day, what we're winning? Trophies. Big
Yeah.
freaking. I couldn't sell them to save my life. Let me tell you a quick story. In one of the nationals, I don't know why, he gave a rifle, a BB gun,
Mm-hmm.
but a very powerful one. It can go through a newspaper. I mean, the yellow page books. I win the tournament, and he hands it to me already fit, made up. Sometimes you get those in a box. So I'm standing in the middle of West 4th Street with a rifle in my hand, and I have no car. I have nowhere to go. So a friend of mine, my intention was to sell it. So I don't know why this guy named Chino, he took me all the way to Washington Square Park, all the way to the Lower East Side. I went by a battalion of police officers because I wrapped the rifle up on my shoulder, and they didn't notice, right? And then we went to someplace try to buy it. And then when I came back to West 4th Street, a friend of mine who's from Philly, he said $150 for it. 'Cause, he likes to hunt. So I sold it. I made $150 off of the
Mm.
rifle. My intention. The second year, he gave another gun. I'm like, this guy
Yeah.
money out of it.
Okay.
Uh, you can see. To answer your question, my incentive was money. Not that I
Yeah.
really. I'll always be a Spalding player because that's why I won most of my major tournaments and a lot of tournaments. And
Yeah.
I've been that since I was a little kid. My father played. Yeah.
Was I know from hearing you speak that Ruben Gonzalez was an inspiration for you, or your idol, your mentor, however you phrase it. Was Ruben a ping pong player, or was he only Big Blue?
No, he was a Spalding player in the beginning. He has an interesting story. He's the fastest man I've ever seen. You think Timbo was fast? This guy was like I've never seen anything like it. Built like a tank. It's a Spanish Harlem like me. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
both born in East Harlem. Or we lived in East Harlem. And like I've seen him beat Buddy in a 2 out of 3 after Buddy zipped him one game, the second game. Imagine that. Buddy zipped him from a corner serve. He didn't even move it to the middle. He went from left to right and beat him 21 zip in the second game. And guess what? Wilton beat him 21-18 in the third game because this guy, he had an incredible stamina. He was like lightning. He never gave up. He was remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. So he inspired me because a lot of time, I try to pattern my game after him. He didn't have much of a serve. That was the crazy part about it. He had like a really high, soft serve. And one day I went to Arthur. I was playing for money. He came to Arthur Park, and handball kid. You want Angel who wants to play? Like I didn't really know who he was. He used to beat me partner by himself for money up
Mhm.
in not in St. James in Mount Eden Park, and that day I beat him. Believe it or not, I beat him 25, 21, 18. I I played ridiculous, because I can tell you he didn't have much of a serve, so my serve was on that day, and but and then after that he went into small ball and he won
Mhm.
the AAU national singles, and then he went into four-war racquetball, and he became the oldest man to do it, to win the nationals at 35.
Mm.
I followed them into racquetball. I had a short career in racquetball. I won tournaments. I became an A player in racquetball. I followed them. Okay, you did this. Now I'm going to do that. You know,
Now, did Ruben know that you kind of looked up to him, or was that like your secret?
uh, yeah, pretty much my secret because I never really told him. He was to me like he was a god.
Yeah.
Buddy, I bumped into Buddy in Crotona Park. Right, one day he came to my park in Jackson Avenue when I was a teenager. And I kept hearing these rumors that this guy Buddy's coming there. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? You know. So I see him walk in with another guy. They went to the other side and they cleaned out the park. And then he left. And then I bumped into him in Crotona Park and I called him out on singles. I said, you want to play me singles? He beat me like 21-12. But right there, I was, I think I could beat this guy. I could beat him. I asked him to run it. We played for 10, but I have no money. So I asked him, I said, look, you want to play me again? I ain't got no money. I owe it to you. And he gave me an attitude. That's why me and him didn't like each other very much. I mean,
Mm.
especially when we both started becoming. I started becoming higher and higher. But Ruben, he was my inspiration. That's the only thing. But what got me a little pissed, like he didn't try to teach me nothing. He just tried to take my money.
Yeah, yeah,
Take my money. I didn't have
yeah.
a mentor. My father didn't teach me shit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I mentor. I had to do it the. But if there was anybody, I think we talked about it before. Frankie, the guy who took me from one part. If it wasn't for Frankie, I never would have gone to West Fourth Street. I never would have gone to St. John's and seen that game. If it wasn't for Frankie, I wouldn't have been. I traveled with Frankie everywhere to play for money, big money. I even played a guy with a manager.
Mm.
Yeah, but Frankie made me, not Ruben. Ruben inspired me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
So,
respect that. And now let's go into something you brought up a interesting topic. Again, because I know my Angel Marquez history, not as much as I should, and that's the reason why we're doing this interview. I do know that you did train people. You did teach people how to play. Give us the list of players, and not just your best players. Give us the list of players that you actually trained, the ones that you took the time and dedication to make them better. Because
well,
you got a lot of A players under your belt, Angel.
yeah. Well, check this out. In Arthur Park, where that was my main park because I was a kid. I lived across the hill. My father played there all the time. I had tremendous players in that park. I played in a tournament there when I was like 12 years old. I got destroyed in the second game, but I actually won. And remember, it was all open. Imagine if you're a kid and you're playing open tournaments because you got no choice. But we
Hmm.
didn't. We didn't think. It didn't matter to us. When you saw any fly, so and this was before the internet, so the guys would literally go from one park to the next, drive around, and put the flyers everywhere on every park. You can go to a lot of different parks and see the flyers for the tournaments, and it was always tournaments. It didn't mean anything like that. But um, so I inspired a lot of these kids that used to play in Arthur, and you should have seen the games on these kids. They were freaky. Little kids about 13, 14 years old playing ridiculous. And they're all playing like me, by the way, with killer shots, cuts, and all that shit. Because every time when I started getting really good, I would bring my trophies there. I'd lay it there and I would start playing with everybody there. You know what I mean? So, but so personally, I trained a kid. His name was Ralphie Velez. He played in Chelsea High School. So I trained with him. He became the best player in the high school divisions, number one, and he also won the junior nationals. And of course, there's Kid Justin, another one. It's hard. Dave Rojas, Sometimes it's not about because a lot of players used to hang out with me. Now imagine you hanging out with a guy that all he does is play for money. All he does is play hard games. You know what I mean? And you play with him, and you hang out with him, and you're going from park to park with him. You know what I mean? Seeing all this. So I trained a lot of guys like that. You know what I mean? Because they started getting better and better. And like Dave Rojas, he got tremendous. And he was just a 14-year-old kid hanging out with me and Fred. But when you have that kind type of influence, those guys that hang out with you they're just going to improve it because they're always playing tough competition, whether
Hmm.
with me or if Fred is with me, with Fred, or we throwing them in with other people. They're playing doubles, they're playing singles, so they got good like that.
Hmm.
So there's just a lot. It's hard for me to name them. You know what I mean? Like cricket.
Give me more. Cricket's one. Okay, so Ralph
Cricket had,
Velez,
but
Kid
he had
Justin.
God given talent.
Yeah.
You know.
Cricket. What I interviewed BJ. He mentioned kind of rolling with you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there was this kid Joe from West Fourth Street. A lot of young guys there. West Fourth had really tough competition.
Yeah.
So when I started getting really good, I was influencing a lot of people up there because I was the man. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like I said, I trained a lot of people that
I
way.
know I
Instead
know
of
you trained Artie too, right?
Artie, yeah, and Artie wasn't that great at all when I met him. But again, we went to fourth and fourth, and they had the WBLS tournament. So Oh no, the sketches tournament, and we won. We won like 3 matches or whatever. So I took him there to play with me, and yeah, I trained Artie also from a
Yeah.
same thing. I trained with him. He was playing tough competition. He played at Bronx Park East. That was where because I lived across in the area, but
Hmm.
he good too. This kid Alfonsi, another young kid with two great hands, and I trained him, and he became really good. And of course, like I said, a kid Justin, he wasn't all that, and I trained him. Him, I took really personal. You know, made him play singles all the time. He played me singles all the time. I threw him into a lot of games. I trained him pretty much a lot more than I trained rookie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But as
What's
far as when he started, I think Justin was a lot better than rookie when he started. Rookie wasn't much when he began.
Yeah. What's
I,
interesting is that all the guys that you're mentioning. So I'll give you like Taiwan. Um, Taiwan, Nas is definitely a Taiwan protege, even though Nas, a lot of people think that he kind of um, passed Taiwan in talent or in skill. But you could tell technique wise they're the same.
yeah,
And then there's other people that Taiwan train, and you can tell that they have a Taiwan mentality of playing. When you name the players that you've trained, they are all different. So it's very clear and obvious that you are one of the greatest trainers in handball because you will take somebody um, and the talents that they already possess and work with that instead of making them play like you because none of them play like you.
no, I just try to stress the aggressiveness of the game, being a because
Hmm.
I was always an aggressive player, but I also had tremendous defense. I was a complete player. My defense was just as great as my offense. Remember the best defense is the best offense, and the best offense is a great defense. It
Yeah.
works. Wait, if I'm killing the ball, I ain't letting you. If I'm really aggressive, I'm not giving you a chance to put me on the defensive. You see what I mean? Now, if I'm very defensive, I'm not giving you a chance to be aggressive. It's a concept of boxing. You know what I mean? If I'm fighting a puncher and I'm a great defensive, I'm not going to let this guy get inside for nothing. And when I do that, he's going to be in a lot of trouble because his the only way he can get to me is to get inside. Right
Mhm.
now, as an offensive fighter, I have to get inside. Rocky Marciano, he had the shortest arms ever from a boxer. So everybody, what did they try to do? Try to keep him at bay. It never worked because Marciano would hit you in the arm. He hit you anywhere until you couldn't do anything, and because he had to get inside. Think about it. He went 51-0 or 50-0, never lost a fight, retired undefeated. See what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's the strategy of it all. But I stress one thing: is never take anybody's style. I saw that in art. Never try to be like, never have your art compared to anybody else. Like me, my art is very unique. And it's the same concept of boxing because, I trained this. There was one kid, by the way, the name was Angel, Little Angel. He was a carbon copy of me. I don't think, a carbon copy. When you watch him play, he plays exactly like me.
Does he still play?
Yeah, he used to play with me again with Artie in Bronx Park East. He was a carbon copy, but it wasn't, but that's all you were trying to be, a carbon copy. He had the two hands, but he didn't have the legs. He was slow. So, and what are people saying? Boy, you play just like Angel. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You don't want
Yeah,
to.
because you almost set a ceiling for yourself, and then it's like it's hard to you'll always be compared to who your style is like. But
And,
quick question for you, because you throw me off a little bit. You're naming a lot of parks and a lot of places you live. Where are you from?
East Harlem in the beginning. I was born in Manhattan, so I lived in East Harlem for a while in Manhattan. El
Hmm.
Barrio, Spanish
Hmm.
Harlem. So, but technically, that's where I'm from. And then eventually, I moved to the Bronx.
So where would you say your home park is?
My home park was Arthur Avenue in Crotona in the Bronx. Because
So you're a Bronx player. We got to give you the
yeah,
Bronx got to claim you.
yeah, at the time that park was Cortona had 24 courts and a three-wall court,
Mm.
and the park was jam-packed every day. They even had some big tournaments there. You know, guess who won it? Ruben. They used to give this really nice trophy with a clock in it. It was
Mm.
gorgeous. So so a lot of the great players used to come up there and play. So as a kid, I was a ball boy. They give me a box of balls, and they said, "Angel, go get the balls to the players," which was great because I used to take a whole shitload of them home. And so imagine 24 courts rocking and rolling nonstop. Because that's how Crotona was. They used way back in the day. One of the very old courts, way back in the day, had lights. 'Cause we used to play on the end courts, which had the box in the back that where you used to be able to switch the lights. It was already messed up. They used to have the lights and everything. They used to have a lot of bocce courts there, and but at one time, it's amazing that they don't talk too much about that park in the
I
Bronx.
never heard about it.
That was the Yankee Stadium. I mean, that was the Coney Island of the Bronx because
Mm.
many courts plus the three-wall courts like Forest Park. They got the three-wall. By the way, they put those courts. You'll notice like in Queens where they got the three walls. They used to have one in Central Park. They got one in Lincoln Terrace Park. They built those courts as an introduction to four walls. That's where they you'll see those parks with those three wall courts because
Mm-hmm.
they are. They did them that people can learn how to play four walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see them there, and that's why there were five of them. And it's funny, but where they are, they have a lot of courts. Lincoln Terrace has a lot of courts. Victory
Yeah.
has a lot of courts. Cortona Park had a lot of courts. Central Park had a lot of courts because they had the three walls there too. And there's one in Staten Island also. So you see what I mean? But to answer your question, I'm a Bronx. I
You're a
played.
Bronx player, Arthur.
Yeah, one of
Arthur
my,
gets to claim you, man. I like that. I
yeah,
never knew that. For some reason, you give off Brooklyn to me. I'm not gonna lie. You give a Brooklyn vibe to me.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
lived.
but considering your opposite and knowing the unwritten rules of handball, it makes sense that you're a Bronx player. Because I know Bronx guys are known for developing their opposite like that. But let's move on. So you talked about some of the tournaments that you've won. You've won a lot of ping pong tournaments. You started winning tournaments with Flip and Buddy. Um, would you consider yourself more of a big blue player, a pink ball player, or a small ball player?
Well, you can throw four walls and three walls there too. Because
Okay.
I'm I'm pretty real good in all of them. I've won, especially racquetball is really good. Racquetball. And four walls. I played in four wall tournaments. I went to Toledo to play in the three wall nationals. So, but technically, I'm a pink ball player.
Pink
Mm,
ball, pink ball.
Because that was all the way into the '80s.
Yeah.
From the '60s to the 1980s.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask a few more questions here. Okay, so more of a pink ball player, but you played everything.
right.
Um, would you consider yourself more of a singles player or a doubles player?
Always singles. Everywhere
Okay.
I played singles. When I went with Frankie, I was playing for 40 to $20 games in the 1970s, which is equivalent to playing for over $150 a game because
Yeah.
that's how much $10 was worth. Imagine
Okay.
playing 20 because you at the end of the day you had a lot. You were able to buy sneakers, food. That money would last. Uh, So everywhere I went, especially with Frankie, I played singles. Everywhere I went.
Okay.
I went to this part,
So
singles. It was all about singles with me. All about
w-
singles.
when you played doubles, were you more of a power side player or a support player?
No, no, always. To this day, I play the left side. I could play both sides. And check this out. I would play the right side, but I would use my left. I would play like a lefty, which made
Hmm.
I can dominate. But I won all my tournaments on the. Now, if I'm playing with Buddy or Emmett, we switch around. But I don't like that because it never happened. This is what happens when you switch around. You throw the rhythm off, because you got two power guys. He wants to be here, and he wants to be here. You see, every time you switch continue, you're throwing yourself off. That's why that
I
we didn't do too well as a team. Sometimes we did, sometimes we did. Same thing with buddies. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. You know,
I
so
100% I 100% agree. So Angel, a little bit about myself.
hmm
If you don't know, I'm not a top player. Many consider me a C player, but I'm a student of the game. I study the game. I love handball. I consider myself a coach. I like to call myself a coach. And one of my big beliefs is you can't have two dominant players playing on the court. Another big belief of mine is consistently switching. You need to, when you switch mid game, you need to recalibrate where your lines are because of a lot of the way that we play is peripheral, right? And we just know where we are. So if I'm playing for 10 points on the right side and then you switch me, I have to find my middle again because now it's completely off. I hate that. There's a few players like that that team up, like a team of mine, a current team that I never liked was Kadeem and Los. Never liked that team. They're two amazing top players. Who's playing right side? I don't, and then they're always switching. It just doesn't work for me. I don't like that team.
right.
I love a really good support player that knows how to score from the right side if needed, but will never ask to move. And we have a lot of them, right? Nas is one of them. Edwin is one of them. Sam Clutch is one. Obviously, all the lefties that we have. Timbo has become one now. He's one of the few players that I see transition from both sides and just be able to do it. Surfer Corey is another one. So, with that being said, I know that you stay up to date with today's game. Who is your favorite support player currently playing?
I, I always like, I always like lefties because lefties. The problem could be lefties can work or they can't because it depends. Like I want 3/4 of the court when I play. I want to dominate. I don't want nobody to just stand. My philosophy was just return it. Just make sure you're steady. They're gonna pick on you. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Just put it back. I'll do the rest. That was my strategy, and I won more tournaments. I used to travel around with players and rack up everywhere I went because that was my C player partner would just hit keep everything back. Go for a shot because I would consistently give them shots. You know what I mean? I would because of my style of playing, the way I play. I'm always in front. I'm always overpowering people. I would give them tons of to set up, and just play smart. But you see, most of the guys that I like are left side players.
So give me.
Timbo's playing the right side, but he's using his left a lot. Did you
Mhm.
know? He's
Yeah,
playing like
he controls. And you know what's interesting is when he plays with Kadeem, they split the court. Kadeem doesn't take 3/4 of the court. They split the court, and Timbo controls the middle with his left.
right, exactly. You know why? Because nobody goes for that right corner. That's one of my best shots. In handball, that was my most devastating shot with both hands, right corner. Because if the guy wants to hog a little, if he's not where he belongs, he's vulnerable to that shot nonstop, and that shot will send you off the court 99% of the times. With both,
Yeah, there's maybe five players that I could think of that go for that right corner shot in doubles. Josh Garcia is one of them. Corey Palmer is one of them. D boy, sometimes when there's clearly a weak side player on that side, he'll go not really for the off the court, but he'll go for the right side. And then a lot of these other top players, that's not a common shot. That right corner spike is not a common shot.
now overhand drops, which I emphasize a lot. Nobody uses that shot. I do that all freaking day. You know what I mean? Lobs kills. Anything you hit above my head, I'm killing it.
Yeah. But now answer the question though. Who's your, even if it's a lefty, who are you most impressed with in today's game that plays the right side?
Well, I have to avoid. Let me see. I would like, to me, I'm not even going to name everybody. I'm just going to name the style. To
Mm-hmm.
me, the guy who's hitting the right corner, the guy who's hitting the right shots, the guy who's really becoming a great supporting player who doesn't really give a damn on that side and doesn't give a shit about switching. Just, he's exceptional on that side. That's the guy I want to play with. You know what I mean? I don't care. I don't care what the game is. I don't care what style you got. I don't care who you are. Just show me that game. I want to see those shots. I want to see things that I do when I'm on that side. I'm a killing machine on the right side whenever I play it with both hands. And my game does not change. It's always aggressive. Because you see, Justin, the game has changed from the '90s with Big Blue. Watch those videos, man. We're killing everything. Today it's drive, 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 nonstop volleys. So how can you say anybody is worthy of doing that there when in my opinion, they're not going for the right shot? Because when I watch a lot of these players today, good, great, they're just doing what everybody else is doing. They're just keeping the ball in play, keeping the ball in play. But as a veteran, I'm seeing shot after shot. My mind is saying, "Well, I go for that. I would have killed that. I would have killed that. I would have done this. I would have done that."
Yeah.
I play behind people. I play in front of you. I'm always blocking you. I don't let you get. I have a million ways to get you out of the front, both of you, or in some. You see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. It's not how the player is. It's, are you doing things right? Like me, or Emmett, or the better players, the players from my era, from the '90s, Big Blue. I'm not talking pink ball. You try
Yes.
pink ball, you're gonna get zipped because of the speed of the ball. You understand? You cannot
Here's a
play that type of game with a small game.
Yeah, here's a question for you. You bring up the 90s. Who dominated the 90s in Big Blue?
Nobody.
It was just
Look,
all over. Everybody was winning, right?
well, let me explain something to you. As far as the top players go, you see, Joe was probably the first top player to go into Big Blue in Coney Island. When Morris Franco was running those tournaments with Big Blue for the first time, we weren't involved in that. None of us. Emmett wasn't around. None of those guys were around. At the time, you had Eddie Golden. You had Eddie Golden. You had Eddie Golden. Really, as far as the top big blue ball player, this guy from Long Island that I trained that never beat me. I always used to play. I actually trained him because he used to come to West Fourth Street, and we used to play pink ball. And I used to go to Long. We got kind of tight, so we used to go up to Long Island and play them for money. Him and his boys, which was a lot of guys. We used to go up to the rec in West Cyprus, and so he got really good. He even won a small ball national. His name is Ed Golden, right? So, and if you watch some of the old films, you can watch them. And who's in the finals? Durso, Eddie Golden, Durso, Eddie Golden. See what I mean?
Hmm.
So we weren't around at the time. So who was dominating? Because they used to have an indoor national also with the Big Blue. That's why Joe has all those titles, by the way. It's not all small ball. It's that they used to run it at the Atlantic Handball Club in Coney Island, where the Y is now.
Yeah.
So, so that's one of the reasons why Joe was dominant. We weren't around. We were still playing pink ball at the time. We were still holding on. So we never got involved in the big blue. We didn't have to, because the pink ball game was still out there. So then we came around, and guys like Ray Lopez came around. You know what I mean? But then Billy came around, and then Emmett came around, and guys like BJ and these guys. You see how the competition started to grow. All of a sudden, Joe's dominance disappeared, and then and that was the end of that. You know what I mean? But
And this was in the 90s?
in the '90s, right now, you got the big five, which is Joe, me, Buddy, the small ball player, and the pink ball the great pink ball players have now jumped into that game. And now you had the two young studs, which was Bully the Kid and Emmett. But I love Billy, but Billy was kind of a flash in the pan. He came and he left. He didn't last too long. You know what I mean? So Emmett wasn't a flash in the pan. Emmett was a great player. Emmett hung.
Hmm.
I put Emmett up there with everybody, but there was nobody dominating. Buddy wasn't dominating. He quit. If you watch that tournament where all five of us were there, I played Joe. I lost. Right. Emmett played Joe. He quit. Buddy played Billy. Buddy quit. Think about that. Who?
Like,
Who?
quit. The game
They just
never
quit.
ended.
Buddy just stood there and let Billy serve him out.
Mm.
Buddy, Joe took the ball and threw it over the fence, and they disqualified him. He didn't want to play anymore because Emmett was kicking his ass. And I beat Emmett like many times at singles, by the way. Matter of fact, after Billy won that tournament, we went to Steinway. I beat Bill. Billy didn't make 10 points in 2 games in
Mm.
singles for money. That's Raul. He won that game. There. Think about it. I played Joe and Coney Allen, and I kicked his ass not only in Big Blue, but I beat him in small ball too.
Did you've won the Peak Pyramid tournaments before, right?
Yeah, I won it twice. I won it with 64 players.
Mm.
Think 64 because they had Ruben retired, and they had a tournament. Whoever wins this tournament wins a trophy and gets the number spot. And we had 64 guys. The great players were on top. You know,
Was
Rube,
this pink ball or blue ball?
pink ball.
Pink ball.
Right. So I won the tournament. So I became number one in the peak pyramid with 64 guys. Think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then I won with the 16 guys twice. You know what I mean?
Did you ever win a blue big blue pyramid?
Yeah, I was in that one. Yeah, I was number one with that one, not pink ball with the big blue.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I won
And
64 plus the one with the 16 players.
did you ever play in King of the Courts?
No, it didn't exist in our times. There was no king of the courts. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
it started like late 90s.
Yeah, 90s, right.
When did you start? So I want to give you a lot of credit for something that you did and you still do. And I don't know if you deleted the old ones. You used to upload a lot of videos, tutorial videos. And I think that when you uploaded them, the times you were uploading them, what people didn't appreciate it. I could be completely honest. People did not appreciate you trying to teach an entire community remotely techniques. In today's world, people come to me often and they say, "Hey, can you help me? Can you coach me? Can you give me advice? Can you do this? Can you do that?" I am not a skilled player. I could give coaching advice, but I can't teach anybody how to do anything. And believe it or not, oftentimes I look up your videos and send it to them. And I'm like, take a look at this, understand the importance of a serve, understand how to hook the ball, understand your position on the court. What made you feel like you should be uploading those? And are you going to continue doing that?
Yeah, I have a lot of them on my Facebook. They're there if you just look for them. I just haven't put them together, but they're
Yeah,
still.
but Angel, you got different Facebooks. I never know which Facebook to
That
look at.
I got that, and I have Instagram. You know, nothing else. I mean, they're there, but I guess yeah, there might be one or two, but I haven't deleted those. But my current one is one, but they're actually there. See, I gotta put them all together, and then like just maybe open up a group, and then people go. Okay, to answer your question is, look, I was successful. What worked for me will work for everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, rookies a prime example, correct?
Mhm.
Right. You know,
Yeah. It's
I
interesting because, like, you have one. I sent a video to someone recently. He was asking for his kids. Is there something that I can help my kids get better at? And I sent him a video and I said, listen, this is Angel Marquez. He's got no hips. He can't move. Don't pay attention to that. Watch the way he hits the ball with both his hands and how easy he makes it look. Watch his technique. He's going to explain his technique to you and show you how easy it could be. But keep in mind, it takes a lot of practice. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. I watched one video of yours where you were trying to teach how to hook the ball. And you were saying that you spin it with your thumb. Yeah, I don't know how the hell to do that. I don't know how you do it. You were sitting there hooking it with both hands like it was nothing. I spent 2 whole years trying to mimic that move. It never came out. I don't understand how you're spinning it with your thumb mid swing. That's crazy.
The thing about it, with the Spalding, we used to run up against guys like that. They used to make the ball hook like this, to right and left, and they used to drive people crazy. You know what I mean? But if you read them good, they pretty much become setups. But with the big blue, it's very hard to do that unless you have a wooden floor. They'll break better on a wood floor because the wood has more grip.
Hmm.
It's just spin, underneath and around, underneath and around.
I don't know.
That's
You make it
perfect.
sound so easy, bro. I was watching you do it, Angel, with both hands, and it's hooking and I'm like, how the fuck is he doing that with the thumb? With the, I'm like, I don't. I just, I can't do it.
If you, you know, use your thumb, believe it or not, if you whip it, it'll get a natural hook every time. Hook always on the floor. If you whip it with your left, it'll hook. That's actually the motion when you whip it that you're using when you want to do it. But it requires a little more technique. But the only thing, let me tell you a story is, with the paintball, I went hook crazy, and it really messed up my elbow. I got bad case of elbow because they say when you do the hook, if you just try it, you can feel the stress in your elbow.
Hmm.
And I did it so much that I got started getting tennis elbow, and a lot of players destroyed their arms using that hook because they say that for every hook serve, it's two serves. So imagine that
Mm,
in a game, non-stop.
yeah,
You have to have a
yeah.
like this old man who used to hang out at West Force. He used to be a great player. Named Old Man, we called him Lefty, right? He would hook the ball with the smoothest motion I've ever seen. When it came to, it broke about this much in
Mm,
direction. And I tried trying to he would show it. He tried to show it to me, and I couldn't, I couldn't figure it out. But he would just go in there, and the ball would break about a foot with the smoothest motion I've ever seen.
mm,
And he taught Ruben how to do that, how to hook the ball. So he tried to explain it to me, and then I tried to do it. But I've never seen anybody do it that smoothly, because you can see the hand turn, but him just can't see it. And he does it beautifully. Even as an old, he was already in his 70s and, almost 80, and he could still do it. Damn, he could
yeah,
still crying out loud. With a
yeah.
serve like, see, let me explain something to you, Justin. Serves mean longevity. Kill shots mean longevity in the game. The more this game continues like this, the more injuries you're prone to. The more these players are gonna pay for it in their life because you shouldn't be on the court that long. Every game, I'm just saying, every game is an hour long. Why are you guys in the court for an hour? Singles are dragging for an hour. Why is it happening? Because you're neglecting the most important thing: to serve, the power serve, to serve to get setups, to kill shots when you do get the setups. You know, I lasted a long, long time. Buddy lasted long. We all lasted a long time because we had serves. If every player had serves, you would be on the. You're going to last because handball is a brutal game because that concrete destroys us. Then you know
Hmm.
that concrete does to your body. It,
Hmm.
it has no give. So every time you jump, every time you leap, every time you're on the court, it is pounding your body to smithereens. So why in the world do you want to be on a court for an hour every
Yeah.
single time? I've beaten guys 21-1 in five. I I won the national in 6 minutes. I beat the guy in 6 minutes because of my serve. And remember, it's tit for tat. My serve, your serve. That's the name of the game. Are you going to tell a tennis player that you can't serve the ball 150 miles an hour? No, you're not. But they're adept at getting it. You know why? Why is a tennis player adept at getting a ball 150 miles an hour? Why? Because
It's
you got
quick points.
foot reach. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I got to serve 100 miles an hour, which, by the way, I believe if they clocked my serve, it probably would have been about 100 miles an hour
Mm-hmm.
because that's how much speed I used to have on my serve, right? But if they were playing handball, it'd be a different story. You see what I mean? But today's game should not be playing like that. Nobody's serving anymore. I'm just changing the subject. You and I'll say it again. Destroying yourself. You guys are killing yourself because you shouldn't be that long on the damn court. Every court. Imagine a tournament. You run a tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pink ball. You can start that tournament at 9 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, it'll be over by 3 o'clock because everybody's serving. The games are going fast. These are
Yeah.
21 point games. The games are moving. Guys are getting the ball back, but everybody's serving. You see, the pace is very fast. But it's not the. I have to say that it's not the players. It's the ball.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell small ball players you guys can't serve low? That's the name of the game. That's the way it works. Joe said that. Joe, what did Joe say? When we talked about pink ball, right? I don't want to get down there and serve. I didn't play pink ball because, by the way, he sucked in pink ball. I zipped on two serves. Me and Frankie beat him and his partner 21 zip. Never got up, and he never showed up again, right? So Joe doesn't know what he's talking about because he's telling you that, I never played pink ball because the concept of getting there and serving. Joe, you play small ball, correct? What are you supposed to do in small ball? Serve the guy out. So it's the same game. There is no difference. The balls are just different sizes, but the concept is exactly the same. Small ball and pink ball, the only difference is the weight and the size. That's it. But the game is exact, fast, high bouncing, hooks. Everything you can do in pink ball, you can do in small ball.
Mm.
Everything. Hook it, you can slice it, you can do everything. You can do crazy shots. You know what I mean? So that's my point. Maybe
Yeah.
that's about it, Justin. Maybe that's why you keep losing players. You notice a lot of players, they don't like. They're
Well,
not.
well,
They're not
we lost the youth in handball, and I do have an opinion on that. If I'm being honest, you kind of alluded to it right now. Obviously, when you started playing, there were no A players, right? But you knew who were the better players and who weren't. You said this guy Frankie. You went everywhere with Frankie, and I'm assuming at that point Frankie was better than you, but he played with you and he took you places. And then you mentioned all the people that you kind of trained and mentored. And some of them you didn't necessarily like put your all into training, but you played with them and you took them places and you played in tournaments with them. That doesn't happen anymore. So if you ask me, and this is a controversial take, and I don't know if I've said it on a live yet, and Saeed, you're here, so clip this up. If you ask me what happened in today's sport of handball is the A players killed it. Our top players have killed the sport. And they killed the sport because they don't want to play against lesser. They're all elitists. They don't want to waste their time playing against recreational players. They don't want to play free games. They want to play everything's got to be money games. They don't want the lesser players to call next on their court. They all go to the same court. I asked you a question before. What court are you from? You said, I'm from Arthur. And we had a lot of good players at Arthur. Well, guess what? There are still players that play at Arthur, but a lot of the A players from Arthur go to 174 to play or go to Grand to play. The guys from Castle Hill go to 174 to play or go to Grand to. No one plays locally anymore. So there's no top players playing in a local court. with their local players, the local kids looking up to, oh my God, Angel Marquez is here. Let me go get some games. Let me go watch him play. We don't have that anymore. In Staten Island, I'm from Staten Island. We used to have, and we're not known for handball like that, but Staten Island had 5 or 6 courts that all had their own top players playing in. That doesn't happen anymore. Everyone goes to one court to play. So then when you go to one court to play, everyone calls next on one court. And everyone doesn't want the lesser players to call next. And that's what happened. We don't have kids being able to look up to top players, their
Yeah.
local top players anymore. And that's to me why the sport is dying.
Look, honestly, I'm guilty of that. You know what I mean? I used to. Yeah, but you see, with me, I had a reason. I have no money, broke. I have a job. I was poor. You know what I mean? So I couldn't afford. It had to be money or nothing. It had to be money or nothing. It was. I would bogart courts, and I wouldn't let anybody on unless you play for money. We used
Mm,
to dominate Cerrigo, Eve, Emmett. We take all the courts. You got next. You ain't playing for money. You ain't playing.
yeah,
Literally. Every park I went to, it had to be a money game or it was nothing, unless I'm out to hustle the guys. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
know, free game. Whatever. But it was we ain't playing for free. We playing for money. Find another freaking court. Imagine that we tell people to get lost on the park. See,
yeah,
but it wasn't about. It was about survival in a way. It had nothing to do. But when you're a top player, a great player, sometimes being a great player is worse because you can't. Afterwards, the well runs dry. Think about it. I had a reputation in near all over the city, and we didn't have no. I could go to this park, that park, St. John, Brooklyn, and if somebody know who I am, I, everywhere I go to parks I've never been to in my life, and all of a sudden there's somebody who knows who I am.
yeah,
It got worse when with social media. It got worse. I couldn't hide anymore, and I wanted to hide. I needed to hustle people. I needed to be on the court all day. I wanted people not to know me for I could rack up money all day. I used to tone down my game depending on the competition. It had nothing to do with you know looking good. It was just going there to make the money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It was a big cap that, and you know, and not just me, but everybody. You know what I mean? Emmett, Buddy wouldn't play for free for shit.
yeah.
Rookie wouldn't play for nothing. See, look, Rookie was smart because I did the same thing. I'll be your friend. You know what I mean? I, uh, I show you things, but basically, my mentality is I just want your money. That's all I want. You know what I mean? I,
Yeah,
oh, I play you. We play for money. We're having a good old time. It's fun, but at the same time, I'm really, taking you for all you're worth. Because that's unfortunate. That's the way it is. You know what I mean? So today's mentality, I don't know. I don't think it's like that because a lot of these guys don't go out and play each other for. They don't, Uh, and they don't
that's
go
all they do. Wait,
think
no, that's all
money.
they do.
They play
Oh,
double everywhere.
yeah, doubles.
Another thing, everywhere they go, they want to play doubles. Why don't people call each other out in singles anymore?
It doesn't happen.
That's why
It
you.
doesn't
That's why
happen.
the competition and the level of play is going down the toilet freaking bowl. You know what I mean? That's why.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, Angel, I want to get into some opinion questions. We're pushing an hour. I don't
All right.
want to keep you all night,
Yeah, I
but I
want to
want
see
some
how my
opinion
power is
questions.
too. But
Yeah.
it's okay. Hopefully my phone won't die. Yeah, go ahead.
My first opinion question for you, and I like to ask you old school players this. Um, can you give me your top 5 greatest lefties of all time?
Well, outdoor, I have to go. I have to go back into the days. I got to
That's
go with
fine.
outdoors.
Hmm.
Um, I got to go. Angel Diaz, partner. He was great
Hmm.
in doubles. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
say great singles player. See, you got when that question arises, you got to go with all around player. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
All around player, not just
Not one or the other.
right. singles and doubles.
Hmm.
Altorres has won many nationals in singles and doubles. See,
Hmm.
as a lefty, lefty Angels has won a lot of doubles, but he didn't win too many singles.
Hmm.
So you got to say, are you a great singles player or a great doubles player? Or are you a great of both? You know, if you're a great doubles player, that's great because a lot of guys are going to win. Angel was a great doubles player and not as good in singles. See, Altorres was great both ways.
Hmm.
So I have put him up on number one. Willie Polanco, he's a lefty, but what did he ever win? All doubles with Pee Wee or something like that. So you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's hard to judge who was the top five as far as lefties go. I can't think of it. I'm
Okay.
looking at all around. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
consistency, that's another thing that's wrong. If I say, you know what, he plays doubles, but how many tournaments did he win with his regular partner? We're talking about the team, or is he that good that he won individually with different? You
Yeah, that's one thing that every time I act, like if someone ever asks me, Colleen is my top of the list. Obviously, a different era, but then they ask that question, and Colleen has won open doubles with like 10 different people.
know?
Right? It's the he. There's not just one person, and he's still winning, and he's into his 40s, right? So his era of winning has is well over 10 years. Because I know that last year at King of the Courts, Colleen was talking to Angel Diaz, and Angel said to him, he only played for like 7 years, around there, like, and just once he stopped, he stopped. Um, and Colleen was shocked, like, "Oh man, I didn't know that," because a lot of people consider you the greatest lefty in big ball. So for you to be the greatest lefty and have such a short span of dominance, it's just interesting. So yeah, that's I always ask that question for you guys because I like to hear you bring up older players, like Al Torres. That's the first time someone said Al Torres. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Al Torres was a small ball player. He really didn't cross over into Big Blue, right?
No, but believe it or not, he won two Spalding Nationals 2 years in a row. Oh,
Mm,
yeah, he lost. He beat Sandler and he beat Lefty Santiago. Lefty was great, though, but he never won nationals. So I gotta put Altorres there, who won two pink ball nationals and a shitload of singles, small ball, and doubles. See,
mm,
I gotta put him on top. I can't
yeah.
see any lefty that I would, and he was consistent. You see what I mean? Consistent as winning on a consistent base with a small ball. But again, like I said, he played. He was a two-time national USHA national pink ball champion or AA,
Mm.
one of the others, because the
Mhm.
A ball in that at the time. So, but
So
today I can't see Henry's okay, but Henry played with a rookie. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Yeah, Henry's a good lefty because I played with a lefty. He's a really good lefty, but he played with rookie. You see, again, that's another factor you got to eliminate. Who'd you play with? See what I
yeah.
mean? Play with. When guys played with me, you won. You know why, right? Because of me.
Did you ever play with Paulie? Were you still playing when Paulie started coming into the game?
Well, Paulie, little Paulie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid has a lot of talent. He's very talented. You know, that's what I always liked about this kid. He has very good form. He's small, but his that really liquidy form of his helps him get over. He's not very quick, but he has great anticipation. He's a lot of talent. He's very he's a natural talent, like little Justin. Little Justin, very natural talent. That's God given.
Who's
Like
little Justin?
yeah, little Justin.
Who's that?
You don't know Justin? Just
There's a lot of Justin.
Silver Surfer,
Oh, Black Justin. Okay.
right? Right, little Justin.
Yeah.
Now that is God given talent. Paulie's God given talent. Cricket was God given talent. Even Fonzie, God given talent. These kids already had these fantastic hands, and the very young kids, they had this natural talent, natural kind of like Well, it'll come to me. But that's God-given talent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Very,
Um,
very consistent.
let's go with another opinion question. I ask this to everybody, and it always gets the best feedback. You are allowed to include yourself if you want to. Name your top five big blue players of all time. Top five big blue players. So
Oh,
no
big.
small ball players.
Um, well, I definitely got to throw myself in there, right? But we'll
Okay.
forget about that. But Joe, because Joe
Joe.
had some dominance, and of
Uh-huh.
course who he is, Buddy,
Buddy.
uh, Emmett.
Emmett.
I got to throw. Believe it or not, I have to throw. Being that Eddie Golden won a few nationals here and there, you know, it's the big blue back then. So I'll give him a little bit of dominance at the time for his period when him and Joe
We're
were.
talking of all time. So
Oh, all time.
yeah.
No, I see. Buddy, Emmett, and Joe, and Rookie, of course.
Okay.
Now, how can I forget him?
Yeah.
Rookie's probably the man, but you know, I got to put. Oh, of course, I forgot Timbo. Timbo, of course. See, Timbo did something really special. Did a lot in a very short span. You know, he won a lot of tournaments. He was very dominant in a very short span. It took Rookie a long time to amass his victories, but of course, you know, world champion. You know, so they're almost neck and neck as far as that's concerned. Timbo has moved in there, and he's still winning, but he's not dominant anymore. You know,
Mm.
Dabo has moved in there,
Yeah.
but I don't consider Dabo to be, you know,
Yeah.
because he lost a lot. He lost. He
Yeah.
was losing to Rookie. He was losing to Timbo. He was losing to, you know, he was losing, but he
Yeah.
was losing to tough guys. But he was losing.
I think Thabo right now is without a doubt the best singles player that we have, but he does benefit from a lot of lack of competition in today's game when it comes to singles. There's only two players that really can go neck and neck with Davo, and that would be Kadeem and Taiwan, in my opinion, physically. Because Davo is just physically better than everybody.
Yeah, you got to tell me. I got to get my charge. You got
Yeah.
it. Like I said, you know, the way I see it. Oh, there's a freaking plug here. I'll be right. I'm just gonna go to my charger. I didn't realize there
Yeah.
was a plug here. The see, I try to look at the overall picture. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Not just the person. I guess I'm looking at stats in a way when you really look at the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Statistically, me and
So
Kimbo were talking recently.
just give me a minute.
He has, I think, over 160 wins in the
Hello,
Open.
I'll be right there.
Tell her we're almost done.
I'm still here. You see my charger?
Right here. Isn't that your charger? No.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah, I look at the overall stats.
So the top five is the top six for you. I can respect that. I mean, it's really hard to keep Timbo out of a top five Big Blue list statistically, especially you're saying you're going over overall stats. Uh, so who would you say is your top five small ball players?
I'm sorry, I'm losing. I should have been charging. Let's see. Okay, my phone's charging.
Good.
I can hear you.
Who would you say is your top five small ball players?
At the moment, Tyree right now. I
Okay.
give him number one for all the tournaments he's won. He just did a triple crown in the Long Island Open.
Mm-hmm.
Kid's got a lot of talent too. Just kind of lazy. But yeah, Tyree's number one.
Okay.
I could put Durso there. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But again, I'm going for overall championships.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah. But then again, has he really? See, I got to look at the competition at the time. The competition in Durso's time was a lot stronger than the competition now. So you know
Yeah.
what? Switch it around. Durso number one,
Okay.
Kyrie number two.
Okay.
Um, if we're going old school, we got to go to. I can go to Sandler, who won 16 freaking national titles.
Okay. That's Steve Sandler, right?
You see, Sandler, I can go with Vic Hertzkowitz, who forget it, dominated 4, 3, and one.
Okay.
It's hard. It's
Vic.
hard. If I were to go in the old school order, I would go Vic Hertzkowitz, Steve Sandler, Joe Durso, um,
Would Al
and
Torres go up
Tyree.
there?
Hmm?
Would Al Torres go up there?
Oh yeah, now Torres. That's it. You just named them.
What about
Torres.
Albert? What about Albert Apuzzi?
No, Albert did a lot more in doubles. Albert
Okay.
probably holds a record for more doubles in small ball,
Okay.
but
Does
not in
Joe
single.
Durso have more small ball wins than you?
Oh, big time, yeah, because that
Okay.
was his game.
Okay.
That was the difference between me and him is that or us is that me and Buddy were pink ball players and Joe was a small ball player. We
Yeah.
just guys that converted to the big blue games. That's all. Joe never played four walls. He sucks.
Hmm.
He never branched out.
Well, he said he never. He said he didn't enjoy this sport of four wall.
Why not? You know what I mean? You're a small ball player, Joe. He probably would have been okay. He's a talented guy. If he would have went, I guaranteed if Joe went to four walls and learned the game, he would have been a good player.
Hmm.
Really? Yeah.
So we got to get you and Joe on the live together. That's definitely something that has to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to see the old man too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's in Florida. He pulled up on a motorcycle at our tournament.
Yeah, I know. Joe always got to be the entertainer, but that's a good thing because it's good to be an entertainer. That's another thing that's missing in handball today.
I
We were
think our last
entertainers,
entertainer was Rookie. We no one
right?
took over the spot.
And handball needed guys like me because I was very entertaining, especially the way I played. I gave a show. Not that I wanted to. I just went all out to win at any cost. You know what I mean? I've had some major arguments. Almost got killed a few times. But hey, but I always gave it everything I had. It was
What was
all
the
about winning.
biggest? What was the biggest money game you ever played?
Yeah, $500. That's about it
Okay.
in one game.
Did you win?
Yeah, I won. Well,
Do you
1 point.
remember who it was against?
Yeah, it was Bobby and this boy with a freaking ball about this freaking big, and it was me and Buddy against them with that gigantic pumped up racquetball. So we played for 500. I won by 1 point. That ball was ridiculous.
Okay.
But overall, it's like they said, if handball was a money sport, I mean, where they gave big prizes, I would have been a millionaire. I mean, I
Yeah.
was a champ, wasn't I? You know, I won 3 nationals in 3 years. It's straight, and a whole shitload of time. One day, I won 4 tournaments in a row. A couple of times, I won every tournament in West 4th Street, every major one, more than once. And I won 3 times. I did this. I won the singles and doubles in the same day. 3 times I did that. Imagine that. You're playing in the singles, you win. You're playing in the doubles, and you win. So go
Right.
figure.
Who was your favorite partner? Was it Angel Diaz?
Yeah, I won. I lost the Ajax with him. Won the Steinway with him, and yeah, Angel. Yeah, Angel was a really good partner. I had another guy. I had in pink ball. I had Dave Melendez, which I won the nationals with, and I had Dino, which I won the nationals with. So I had a variety of partners. Except who I stuck with. I really didn't stick with anybody too much. Like me and Fred would travel more or less to play for money. Though I did win a tournament with Fred. and it was who was there at the moment. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like I said, I'd rather play my game. I'd rather made money in singles. But a lot of times you went to a lot of parks and nobody wanted to play you, so I had to play
Yeah.
doubles. You know what I mean? I was there to play singles.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Or
ask you one more question, and then I'm gonna let you go and enjoy your night up in New England in the cold weather. You got to come down to Florida, man. But here's my final question for you, and I always want to hear your take on this. I know that you are a skeptic. I know that you think handball will never go anywhere. Rightfully so, because we have a lot of flaws in our game, and the 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 culture is not where it needs to be. But let's pretend we have a wish, and the wish is to make handball professional. What do you think we're missing to get to that point?
there are a lot of factors. I mean, why are we letting a game like pickleball run rampant the way it is? 27 million people play that game. 27. It's a number two sport next to tennis right now. If you can believe that. And they just keep reinventing themselves. Now they're playing this game with small tennis rackets on a pickleball court without the thinking and everything. Sponge ball. You see, they keep changing. Pedal loaded. Why are these games so popular? Why? Because they're marketable. I said it a million times. We are not marketable. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. There's nothing we. It sounds negative, but there is nothing we can do about it. We are still too damn street. Handball is still too damn street. The poor man's game. It has not. Look, Justin, I'm saying you got tournaments, been there, done that. You got money tournaments, been there, done that. $1,000 tournaments, 5,000. That's chump change. What kind of money is that? Sometimes your rent's 3,000, and you're winning $1,000 in a tournament or $2,000, right? Some people's rent is $250. 200, 2,500 for rent. Rents are going higher. Everything's more expensive. Give me $100,000. It's not uniforms. That ain't gonna do shit. Because you know why? I want to actually check this out. Have you ever seen people wearing their these handball shirts off the court? Go to Midtown.
There's only one time I've seen it, and you had an opinion on it. It was the Bass guys that won Florida versus the world.
Right, and that's
They represent their country and who they are 100% of the time.
right, exactly right. Why are they beating us for crying out fucking loud? And I'm sure they got sponsors to come down there. You know what I mean? It's like that other guy, that guy from Spain. He comes here,
Sasha,
cameras on him. You ever notice that? He's got cameras with him. So no, it's all about marketing. Until we get somebody who has a lot of money who believes in us, it ain't never gonna happen. Like I said, we're too street. We do too much street shit. Our parks are shit. The neighborhoods are shit. You know what I mean? I grew up in shitty neighborhoods. Imagine all this handball going on in my day when the South Bronx was being burnt all over the place, right? We used to go to the parks and all the buildings were on fire or they're freaking destroyed. And that's what you find a lot of in handball court. You find shitty ass neighborhoods. Who wants to sponsor that? There's too
yeah,
much bad things about the sport. It's all a facade, what you see about the sport. It ain't real. You know what I mean? The entertainment, there's no entertainment. And by the way, like I said, you I'll say it a million times and I'll say it again. There are no crowds. Ain't nobody watching. The people that are watching the tournaments are the players. That's why the park looks like that. And by the way, once that park tournament is over, that park is deserted. Ain't nobody coming back. See, when we played in tournaments, those parks were already crowded. You know that? You can come back the next day and it was rocking and rolling. They were always rocking and rolling these parks that we played. They just adding icing to the cake when the tournament ran. So you can always go back, and there was always a lot of people there. Go back to those parks and watch how dead they are. You see how many handball courts are dead? How the pickleball players have taken over a lot of parks now? Central Park, check that out. They're building pickleball courts on the back park. Check that out. They ain't doing shit for us.
When you say handball is not marketable, you mean the players, or there's nothing in the
The
sport to
players
market?
are the key. You need characters. You need guys with personalities. You need guys that understand about marketing. How can I sell myself? As good as I am, how can I sell myself? Right? What do I have to do? Bro, even if you gotta fake it, do it. You know what I mean? Maybe you're not an asshole on the court. Maybe you don't entertain. Maybe that's not your personality. But for this one moment, go on the court and give a freaking show. You know what I mean? And on another thing, people don't understand what we're doing. I said this a million times. You probably heard it in that last podcast I did, right? We're playing with a racquetball. Do you hear what I just said?
Mhm.
We're playing with a racquetball, named after a sport.
We're not playing with a handball.
It's not a handball. It's a racquetball. When we played small ball, it was a handball. It says it right on the can. What does it say? Official handball. Pink ball Spalding. It wasn't a handball. It was it was a punch ball. It was a stick ball. It was an everything ball. We just happened to play handball with it. See? It didn't have any. Again, our game has no identity. We're playing with a racquetball. I don't care what color it is. I don't care how it bounces. We're playing with a pinball. We're actually making money off of them for them, if you can believe that. Right?
Mhm.
We're making money for the pen company which sponsors racquetball tournaments. How does that sound? How come we're not sponsoring using a ball that we're actually putting money in our sport? No, we're putting money in their sport. When you guys run tournaments and you buy these balls for pen, you're actually making money for the pen company, which makes money for racquetball.
Mhm.
Check that out. So how we gonna go anywhere when we're doing shit like that?
So you bring up, I've never thought of this, and it's genius. It would make sense if, let's say, USHA starts manufacturing Big Blue, and they can corner that market, and we no longer have to buy pen balls.
USHA does nothing has wants nothing to do with us. We're only
Yeah,
tokens.
yeah, but that's the thing though. Little ball is dying way faster than Big Blue.
It's already dead.
So if there's one market that they can try to salvage, it's Big Blue. And going the route that you're saying, you don't think that it's worth
No,
trying?
because the USHA has always been a four wall company. Wrigley, if you watch the Pro Tour, it's a four walls. They run their annual three wall nationals, every year, but they don't do much for that anymore either. But they've always been a four wall company. The Hall of Fame is in Tucson, Arizona. What the fuck is in Tucson, Arizona for? You see, I'll give you a little history about paintball. Okay, they started running. I think you probably heard. They started running the paintball tournaments in COVID. At the same time, they ran the small ball tournament. This is the AAU. All
Mhm.
right. So you were only allowed to win two national singles in pink ball, and then they would throw you to the small ball, and they called this pink ball game a novice game. In other words, the Spalding game was for beginners.
Mhm.
And then they say, you know what, you won two. Now go play small, but go play the real game. Think about it. Alturas won it. Sandler won it. These great players who won the pink ball, and they're still telling them, go move down. Okay, go ahead. Go play your urban game. The USHA has always been against the Spalding. I mean, the big ball. They don't
Mm.
give a shit about us. They only run the USA tournaments. You know why? Because they want memberships, and it makes sense. They only care about memberships. And their membership is pathetic. They got less than 15,000 members in the entire United States. Isn't that pretty pathetic? Think about it. 15,000 members. Who the hell buys our magazine? You can't even buy it on the counter. But the USHA is always, they don't give a shit about us. And I told them that once too. That's
I
what the
think a
only
lot of
reason
you,
they.
the older generation, unanimously feel the same way about USHA.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about us because they see us as trash. Don't you understand that? They see us as garbage. They see us as trash. Four Walls is an elite game. You're playing in the freaking clubs. It's going to cost you an awful lot of money to go play. You're playing in these nice, beautiful courts. You know what I mean? These big freaking environment with a gym, with a pool. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. They're really nice. A lot of the Four Wall facilities are beautiful.
I love Full War, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too. I love the game. I think everybody should play. Why not? You don't
Mhm.
have. You should learn. Everybody should be more of an all around player. You don't
If
have to
you
be
a-
stuck on one fucking game.
if you ask me, um, I do enjoy watching one wall more than I enjoy watching four wall. I enjoy playing four wall more than I enjoy playing one wall. So as a spectator, I'd rather watch one wall. As a player, I'd rather play four wall.
Yeah, forward can be nice, but sometimes it just takes the top players to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a different strategy. It's all about the passing shots. You know, the ceiling game. You know what I mean? In the old days they weren't using the ceiling. Only Jim Jacobs started hitting the ball up in the air. They used to basically not use the ceiling shot much, and the courts were a lot bigger at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
You see, this is what the USHA did. They standardized the courts. They put them 20 by 40 instead.
Hmm.
Like you will go to a YMCA and the courts would be too big or they
Hmm.
would be too small. They varied in sizes. And look, the only reason the United States Handball Association became anything, first of all, the AAU was doing all this. Then they stepped away. And so Kendler, the guy was a multi-millionaire back in 1950s. He loved handball. He started the USHA. He standardized the courts. He got all the top players from all over the country to come work for him and play for him. See, he had a plan because he was a businessman. He knew about marketing. He marketed it excellently. $100,000 for a pro tour in the 1950s. Think about that. It's a lot of fucking money, right? That's what we need. We need somebody with a lot of money who believes in us, who's willing to take a loss because you're not gonna. One thing about if and I said this again, I'll say this a million times. You have to treat handball as a business, as a business. If you're in a tournament, you're letting guys come in late. You're letting them slide. You're not treating it like a business. They're not your fucking friends. You understand that? It's a business. You ain't my friend. This is my business. I expect you to adhere to what I do and what I say because you're tearing my business apart.
Hmm.
You see what I mean? I want to make money. I want to profit. The more profit I make, the bigger we become.
Hmm.
You're a nice guy and you're not treating it as a business. Remember, nice guys finish last. And handball is not treated as a business. It's not.
I
It's
agree.
treated as something recreational. We go to this park and I said this a million times again. You guys don't use permits, man. You ain't got no permit. And I
Well,
said,
we use permits,
okay, but think about it. The
but
guy who doesn't
most
use
don't. Most
permits,
don't.
exactly. Anybody in the neighborhood can shut you down. Anybody. All they
Yeah.
got to do is call the Rangers and you're gone. You know that? Anybody. They just come up to you and you're going to say, do you have a permit? And then you're going to say no. And they're going to say, I'm sorry. You have to leave. Anybody. So you can go to this neighborhood, that neighborhood, that. But if they don't like you, they're going to kick, or they're going to call the Rangers and you're gone. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. Think about it. That's what the risk that you take when you don't have a permit and you do not have the right to tell anybody to get off the court because you're running a tournament. Nobody does. If I got four guys and I'm there to play, you can't come up to me and tell me you're running a tournament because all I got to do is say, "Do you have a permit?" And if you don't, I ain't leaving. None of
Hmm.
us are. If you don't like it, I'll call the Rangers, and you're gone. All you have to do is say, "We're here to play. We play here regularly." These guys are trying to tell us to go to the court. It's a public park, and they don't have a permit. You're gone.
Hmm.
You're fortunate. Today's players are very fortunate that has not happened to them. But
Yeah, I hear you.
why do the risk? My point there is, like you, with a permit, I can close this park. I don't have to let any riffraff in. I control this park today. I have a permit. This park today is mine. If I want to put seats, I'll put seats. If I want to charge people, I'll charge them. If I want to, I could do anything in this park. I could throw everybody out and have the whole park for my own self. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But today, I own this park. There ain't shit nobody could do with it because I got a permit.
Yeah.
See, again, that's business. You hear what I said? I'm running it like a business because I'm getting a permit. I'm doing everything the right way. I'm not just coming to some fucking empty parking lot and getting 3,000 people to come in here and tell everybody that wants to be in this park to get lost. You have no right, right? You got no
Yeah.
right to tell me anything on the court. Nobody does because it's a public park. I could do whatever the fuck I want, but you can't tell me to get off the court because
I
I
hear
got the
you.
Rangers on you. You'll be fucked,
I
right?
definitely, like I asked that question. Timbo just joined. He said, "Tell you what's up, legend."
What's up,
Um,
Simbo?
I asked that question because I know that I don't know if your last interview, but I know when you spoke with Burning Rubber years ago, um, we talked about this, and again, it's a little cynical. The things that it's a little negative, right? The way that you speak about it, but I think that you're spot on with everything that you're saying. And I always use this self-fulfilling prophecy terminology, and it's the players. You said it. It's the players are too street. The players don't ever think we'll be professional, so the players don't act professional.
No,
They don't act professional because they don't think we'll be professional, and then we don't become professional because they don't think that we'll become professional. And
right,
it's this cycle that we're in.
exactly. They don't, and you know what? They don't have to be. Who cares? Ain't nobody telling us nothing. Ain't nobody there bossing us around. We're here to play a fucking handball game, right? We're just here to bring ourselves, have a little fun, enjoy the day, and that's where it ends. You
I
know,
do want
nobody
to
has that.
mention really quick, Angel, before I forget, Master Web has been in this chat the entire time, talking to you, giving you your props, telling you, tell him. Master Web's been showing you a lot of love in the chat. So a lot of people here have been cheering you on with everything that you're saying, appreciating you joining us today. Um, I I don't want to go too much longer because I want people to watch this, and I want to interview again if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. Look,
Hopefully with Joe. Go
just
ahead,
one more
go.
thing. I'm sorry. I'll just interrupt you for a second.
No, go ahead.
I hate repeating myself, but I
Hmm.
usually do, and it's bad. You know why? Because I've been playing handball since the '60s,
Hmm.
and nothing much has changed.
Hmm.
You get my point? And let's talk about the I'm not going to mention it, but we all know about the extracurricular activity that goes on in parks, and that's a no-no too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how can we go anywhere if we keep, like I said, if we keep street? You know, that's why people look down on us. That's why we're called the poor man's game.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got money. Yeah, but we're still playing a poor man's game. It's called the poor man's game because it's a game that was active during the Great Depression.
Hmm.
You know why? Because people couldn't work. They didn't have jobs. You know what they did? They hung out in the handball courts playing for nickels, playing for quarters and nickels because that's all they could do. That's why you got that title and stigma, the poor man's game. You see what I mean? We
Yeah.
don't want to be. Look at pickleball. Nobody's calling pickleball the poor man's tennis. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Right, but they call our game the poor. They call us the poor man's sport. But yeah, pickleball. Oh man, these guys are great. Look at them. Oh man, we're on TV. We're on ESPN now. I just saw a tournament for $100,000 in fucking pickleball. Right? They got these wonderful courts, these beautiful, magnificent places. It's not the poor man's tennis. I don't hear anybody saying it's the poor man's tennis. Believe me, that's exactly what it is. Right? It's a poor man's freaking tennis.
Yeah. Pickleball. I think pickleball's thriving because it caters to every age bracket, and handball does not.
No.
You know, you reach that threshold. I want to say like 45, and you got to be in great shape at 45. You reach that 45 threshold, you just can't hang.
Yeah, and the punishment that it instills to you. Yeah, again, whatever I play pickleball, it's a fun game. Yeah, I like it, but it's been excellently marketed. Do you see my
Yeah,
point?
yeah,
To the point where it is now. Once we're talking about 27 million people playing on a daily basis, that's marketable, bro. I
yeah,
would want a piece of the action.
yeah,
Anybody would. If you can get a piece of that sport, maybe build a facility, maybe build a court, you're gonna make some money. You really are.
yeah,
Try to handball. Ain't gonna happen.
yeah. I agree. Angel, this has been great. I have one last request from you.
Okay.
I don't know how realistic it is, but you did say you're up there in New Hampshire, and I got a friend of mine that lives up there. His name is Hector Marte,
Hmm.
Lefty Hector, New England. He's New England's best player
Hmm.
for the last 10 years, and he could be great, but he needs some training. He needs some coaching. So if you ever come back, look up Hector and get him to that next level,
All
please.
right, I will.
I know he could do it. It's here. He's got the physical abilities, but if you could train him, I promise you'll have another A player under your belt.
All right. Good
All
enough.
right, Angel.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be in touch. Um, uh, for our next one, I got more interviews coming. Geo should be next. Hope you tune into that one.
Yeah, I will.
Um, this has been great, Angel, and until we meet again, man.
All right, buddy. Take care and thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All
Later.
right. Ciao.